Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of We Don't Watch Movies, featuring me, Corinne.
And me, Monze.
Ah!
The pause. The excitement. Who
Wow,
is
the
it? We don't
anticipation.
know.
We don't watch movies and we don't know who the other co-host
We don't
is.
know who's not watching them. Yes.
So, in this episode, we are going to talk about Apocalypse Now.
Ooh.
Oh,
We decided this 5 seconds ago.
truly.
Okay.
All right, so Monty, why have you not seen Apocalypse Now?
I don't like war movies. They're like so like why? Okay, this is gonna be like a weird. I watched. Was forced to watch because the wheel chose this movie,
The
and also,
wheel.
um, my two friends, Rufino and Gio, ganged up on me. We watched that stupid Predator movie, the first
Oh.
Predator, and it starts off kind of like it's got like war movie vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire time I was like, I don't want to watch this. I fell asleep halfway through the movie. I don't really remember any of it. And I feel like that would be me with Apocalypse Now.
I see.
I would be like, I don't want to watch this, and then I'd be forced to watch it, and then I
Uh-huh.
fall asleep halfway through, and then I wake up, and I'm like, what's going on? And then everyone gets mad at me because they're like, Monty, you're supposed to be watching the movie. And I'm like, I told you I didn't want to watch this movie, and also I was really tired. So I guess that's why I haven't seen Apocalypse Now.
Thank you for that lovely story. I think it added the context we really needed to understand the psyche behind not watching it.
Yes, truly.
Yeah. Um, I also don't like watching war movies, but for a different reason. My dad is a military man, and
Uh,
he loves war movies. I'm sure he would tell me Apocalypse Now is a pretty good movie, actually, Kareen.
it's
Um,
probably the best war movie you've ever seen about the Vietnam War.
I don't know if it would be his favorite, best, or whatever, but he'd probably be like, "Oh, there's bits in there, whatever." He's absolutely seen that movie. He likes war movies. I think war movies are depressing and they make me angry.
They are really sad.
They're all really sad. They make me think about the military industrial complex. They make me angry on behalf of the soldiers. I get invested in them despite my best intentions. They always kill the nice, wholesome country boy or whoever has a girl or a baby at home. And they always kill him right after he's done some nice thing or he just found out he's going to be a dad. Like he's received the best news of his life and they're about to ship out and he's the first one dead.
Like in that Godzilla movie, like the guy who was like, all he wants to do is go back home to his
Yeah.
family, and they freaking killed him. I was so mad. Not Godzilla, King Kong.
The King Kong. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my god.
I was like,
Hate that.
seriously? I was like, he is the only character I care about in this movie, and you killed him.
Yeah. And that movie's filled with a lot of war movie tropes too, because of the
Yeah.
soldiers in there, and it's very similar to Vietnam. I also don't like war movies because a lot of times, not all of them, depends on the war, but a lot of the more recent ones, there's
Oh, like if
like,
they're gory and stuff.
yeah, it's like one side weirdly exoticizing, but then the other side like kind of racist and xenophobic. Especially with movies set in the Vietnam War, in the Middle East, in Korea, the Pacific Theater in World War II. It's those they make me uncomfortable. It feels pro-imperialism in a way. And then even the war movies, and above all, the biggest reason why I don't like them, even the most nitty-gritty war movie, in my opinion, is still pro-war propaganda. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's at least pro-US propaganda. They don't, in my experience, maybe there's a movie out there that does, but they don't, in my experience, really push the envelope and push back against, hey, maybe this is unnecessary. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe we are ruining men's lives, disproportionately lower class men who wouldn't be able to afford college any other way, or, people of men of color who are kind of sold, especially immigrants who are sold this lie about like here's how you can be patriotic and a true American or whatever, join up for ROTC or whatever. Like it feels like it's glorifying the military, and I've seen the not glorified parts of the military, not personally, but as like a family member and even as like someone's partner regarding my ex. And it's like, it's not it. It's not cute. I don't like it. I don't want it to be glorified. They never talk about the horrible things. And if they do talk about the horrible things, it's like war porn. I don't like it. So it's very hard for me to get me to watch one because at the end of the day, it always feels like pro-war, pro-U.S. government propaganda of, at the very least, a necessary evil. Because at the end of the day, all these war movies have to go through the Department of Defense. They have like a bureau where they review.
Do they really?
I'm pretty sure they have a bureau where they review them to make sure that the representation of the U.S. military is like good enough, you know? So like that's
That's
like a
so
thing.
icky.
So that's
That's so
also
icky.
also why it feels like propaganda. A lot like Transformers, even things that like just tangentially have it. It's that's why a lot of them have like such similar messaging at the end of the day. Even like the nitty gritty, it's like, oh, sacrifice for country, patriotism, blah 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 blah. And it's, anyways, we'll get more into that later. But
Okay.
that's why and Apocalypse Now also looks super bloody and gory, and I don't do violence well. So on top of not liking war movies, I don't want to watch people dying. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why I haven't seen it.
Okay. Um,
Um,
I guess what do we think the movie is about?
yes.
I
So,
honestly I don't really know anything about it. I thought this was the movie with Charlie Sheen, but it's not. It's Martin Sheen.
oh.
So, it's his papa. So, uh, Papa, is that you? Which is the one with Charlie Sheen?
I don't know.
Oh wait, is he in Apocalypse Now? No, it's Martin. Oh, he is in this movie?
Hmm.
No, that's Martin. I don't know anymore. Uh, well, maybe it's Full Metal Jacket I'm thinking of. Is that the one?
Oh.
No, he's not in that either. Maybe
Oh.
I'm just stupid. Maybe I literally just confused Martin and Charlie. Which, apologies to you, Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm looking up his
he was an uncredited extra, apparently, based off my quick
I
Google
forgot
search.
his brother was Emilio Estevez.
Yes, his brother is Emilio Estevez.
Yeah.
So Martin Sheen's real last name is Estevez.
Yeah.
And he changed it because it was like, you can't be whatever, whatever. So he changed it.
Yeah.
And so Charlie Sheen. And then Emilio, I think he either changed it back or he kept his original name. One of those. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't the the Sheen family podcast.
No.
Fancast. So, okay. Apocalypse Now, I'm going to assume there's like a bunch of dudes, a bunch of buddies, a bunch of friends go down to Vietnam, and they're like, and they're like, we're going to go kill us some Vietnamese because we're wholly an American patriotic.
Yep.
And then they get there and they're like, this is not what we were expecting. And everyone's like, yeah, man, that's war. And they're like, oh no. And then maybe they get sent on like one of those like suicide missions or something. And they're like, we're gonna make sure we all come back. And all of them except one guy dies. And it's probably Martin Sheen. And he's like, and then I mean, this is a podcast, so no one can see me shaking my head with my hands. Oh
the visual's
no!
really great. It adds to it.
Yeah, the PTSD that I've been left with. And he's like, but I'm still glad I served in Vietnam. And then his grandkids are like, thanks for the story, Grandpa. Can I go play on the Atari now? And he's like, go ahead, my boy. I don't know why. Anyway.
This is like a well-kept retro Atari.
Yes! I bought this before I was shipped out. Yeah.
That's the only reason they sat down to listen to Grandpa. Is to play on his
Yeah,
Atari.
to play with his Atari. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, because apocalypse is like end of the world, so like it feels like we're in the end of the world times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe one of them falls in love with like a Vietnamese woman or something, and he's like, "We've got to protect them," and they're like, "They're just being like, you know how they
Yeah.
go." Okay.
Okay.
That's my really bad summary. What's your summary?
I always get this movie confused with Apocalypto because I thought Mel Gibson was in this movie.
I like how we both didn't know what movie we chose. Okay.
Well, I knew it was Apocalypse Now, and I was like, oh yeah, the Mel Gibson movie. And I thought about it, and I was like, no, that's Apocalypto. So I know Apocalypse Now has like the water scene.
Oh, is this the one with the water scene?
The water scene that film schools love. I think it has.
They never showed us that scene.
Really? I know
that.
I know that scene. I
Okay.
think I discovered it in film school. One of the classes that we didn't have together. And I think it also has, it's like in the editing section where they're like, look at this great editing. And then there's like the ceiling fan that he's looking at. And then the ceiling fan turns into the helicopter rotors.
Oh, okay.
So, and then there's something with like window blinds. So I think, I read the synopsis a while ago.
You think there's a lot of really good editing in
this movie? I think people like this movie because of edit. I think it won the Oscar for best editing.
And that's my summary.
That's my summary. There's a helicopter.
Editing.
No. So I think it's told in retrospective. I think the guy has returned from Vietnam and is suffering from PTSD, and he has flashbacks to his time in Vietnam. And I think it's a PTSD movie. I think that's what it is. But I think everything else that you said is probably what happened to them in Vietnam. So I think it's that. But yeah, I think he's dealing with that. And then I think there's a bomb. Because they were bombing the shit out of Southeast Asia at that point. So I think there's going to be some napalm or whatever. And yeah, it's going to be about the horrors of war. And how it will change you. And PTSD and stuff. But at the end of the day, still kind of justifies the U.S. involvement in that war. That's what I think it's about.
Literally, I'm sorry. I was just thinking in my head, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream. 2 hours ago.
The only Vietnam War movie I'll like willingly watch.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking when you were like, "You're a changed man." I was just picturing Lieutenant Dan and the ice cream in the forest cover. He's just like,
Lieutenant Dan, ice cream.
Okay. All right. Did you find a trailer?
I'm looking for it.
I have the synopsis up, so I can do that. But
okay. So fun story. When I was younger, my dad was still in the military for like military family appreciation event. We had a free concert that we went to where the actor of Lieutenant Dan was performing with like a cover band. So it was like Lieutenant Dan and the this and this band, and they were just performing covers of like popular songs. It was great.
That sounds amazing. That's amazing.
Yes. The one benefit.
We appreciate you, military, Lieutenant Dan.
And they played like scenes from Forrest Gump. And at this point, I had seen Forrest Gump, so I could like actually appreciate it.
Oh.
Oh yeah, see the poster is the guy coming out of the water.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the horror.
The horror.
The horror. I don't want to watch the full movies.
Did
3
they?
hours long? Okay.
Let's watch the full movie on this podcast.
Trailer.
I'm sure everyone would love it.
Oh, Robert Duvall. Okay.
Yeah. This is, Robert Duvall, I think he literally only made movies in the 70s and then disappeared from existence.
You know what? Fair enough.
I mean, I get it.
Okay, let me know when you're watching.
Okay. Play. Apocalypse Now.
The soundtrack's probably gonna be like super great.
Gonna be slapping?
Yeah.
No. Sorry. Okay, the helicopters.
And I still haven't learned how to wait for it. I wanted a mission for my sins.
You see, there's the fan.
Oh.
Nobody'd ever gone on a mission like it before. And when it was over, I never want another one.
What blue eyes?
Mission is
Sorry.
to proceed up the Nung River in the Navy patrol boat. Pick up Colonel Kurtz's path at New Mung Ba.
Oh, that's him!
Oh my god!
Colonel infiltrates
Harrison
two
Ford's a
large
baby!
available,
He's
and
so
terminate the
beautiful.
command.
Ugh.
Terminate his extreme prejudice.
You're gonna kill Marlon Brando?
I ought to say I'm not supposed to know where I'm taking this.
I don't
so
approve of this mission.
But one look at you and I know it's gonna be hot.
Oh, no.
Oh my god. Unnecessary. Ooh. Satisfaction. That dance. Those are my dance moves. Were they ski jetting on the... This is a cover sheet.
Like a baby, right where you want it. First of the night, air cab, son.
Okay, the cavalry. That's so weird to see the cavalry in like a...
The military is nothing if not traditionalist. Not the Wagner.
What the heck?
Oh my god.
I do not like this.
No.
This is making me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Wow. No! Ugh, Vietnam War was so unnecessary.
It was pretty awful.
Drinking your coffee? Oh, just another beautiful Monday.
Oh, see, oh, there's napalm.
Oh, this is awful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember that quote.
Oh, this. The, like, entertainment.
Not the way you talk. Susie, cute. Come here, George. George, don't watch this. What is going on?
I don't know.
This is not a well-edited trailer, I can tell you that much.
Mm.
This trailer did not win an Oscar for best editing.
So you can kill one of our own guys?
Is this really the trailer?
Oh, dear, stupid.
Who's the commanding officer here?
Yeah, it's like,
He was close.
oh my god.
He was real close. I couldn't see
He
him,
was real close.
but I could feel him.
These are all his children, man. as far as
Watching
you
me.
can see. They think you've come
Okay.
to take him away, and I hope that isn't true.
Could we, talk to Colonel Kurtz?
You don't talk to the colonel. Well, you listen to him.
Are you an assassin?
Are you an assassin? Sorry, that's my Marlon Brando. I got a better contender.
Mostly close. Let go.
He has, like, a weird clicky voice. Oh, it's Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, it's Coppola. Brando.
Marlon Brando.
Sheen. Now. What a that's a really bad trailer.
That's a strange trailer.
That was a very bad trailer.
Yeah.
I think I know less what happens in the movie. Okay. So
this
any
comment here
amendments?
says, old times, good movies equal bad trailer.
Wait, is that a comment?
That was the comment. Nowadays, bad movies equal awesome trailer. Okay, alright, continue.
Like that Moonfall trailer? No, I'm kidding. That Moonfall trailer is awful.
The Moonfall trailer is amazing.
Like you're like, I did not just hear that through my headphone. Okay. So I guess Marlon Brando's character does something, and then the United States Army is like, we need to kill him. And then Sheen goes on a journey to kill Marlon Brando. He probably doesn't kill him in the end. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that seems to be the plot. So I think Martin Sheen is supposed to be the audience stand-in. So he's going to be this idealist, never seen war sort of guy. We see him at the beginning of the movie, and he's like war-torn, PTSD. I think he's contemplating suicide because that gun we see in the bed.
Oh.
Yeah, so then he tells the
You don't
story.
go to sleep with a gun?
No.
Look at this guy.
I know, he's really cute,
Look at
and
him.
he looks really concerned. I'd be concerned too if we were talking about this movie.
He always looks concerned.
I know he does. It's great.
Sorry, George.
Anyways, so I think like you said, he's being sent on this mission to take out the colonel. I think the colonel's like unhinged, and I think it's supposed to be how like I think they're in Cambodia, not Vietnam. Like
Okay.
yeah, I saw it where it's like the jungle has turned him into like a madman or something, and he's like ran away from the military. I think he has a
He's probably
bunch of
helping, like, the
he's either helping
quote-unquote
them or he's
enemy.
just like a king of the island sort of
Oh,
situation,
okay,
where
okay.
he's just like crazy and has just
Hmm.
like held anyone who's in there like under his grasp. He has a lot of like mixed race children. And she's just like going nuts. Like I think he's like wacko. But
He's a wacko crazy dude.
he's
Okay.
a loose cannon, so he probably
I'm a
just
loose cannon with
yeah,
nothing to lose. Don't try
literally, he's
me.
a loose cannon and
Sorry, I have to
very
do my Marlon
unhinged.
Brando. I can't do it. I
Yeah,
can't
do
do
like
it.
the clicky weird clickiness.
I'm a loose can't. No, I can't do it.
So then he has to like take him out, and then Marlon Brando like convinces him like this. No, you think I'm bad, but look at what the government. This is the U.S.'s fault that I'm like this. Blah 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 blah. And then Martin Sheen leaves. I think Marlon Brando still dies somehow. That Martin Sheen does things that he like deeply regrets, and now years later he's like that man was right, and then he kills himself because of PTSD. That's what I think
Damn.
happens.
Damn.
So
George, can you believe this?
I know, and it's gonna be filled with a lot of gross imagery that I'm not gonna like. That's gonna
Okay,
make
well,
me
good thing we
uncomfortable.
don't need to watch it. We're only
Yeah.
gonna talk about it. Okay.
Yes.
So, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. So, the story opens in Saigon, South Vietnam, late in 1969. U.S. Army Captain and Special Operations veteran Benjamin L. Willard, Martin Sheen, has returned to Saigon on another combat tour during the Vietnam War, casually admitting that he is unable to rejoin society in the U.S. and that his marriage has broken up. Just casually. Just over drinks. Oh no, yeah. He drinks heavily, chain smokes, and hallucinates alone in his room, becoming very upset and injuring himself when he breaks a large mirror. So definitely up on that PTSD.
Oh yeah.
One day, 2 military policemen arrive at Willard's Saigon apartment, and after cleaning him up, escort him to an officer's trailer where military intelligence officers Lieutenant General R. Corman and Colonel Lucas, my boy Harrison Ford as a hot baby, approach him.
Oh, that's who that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said there. You probably didn't hear me.
I didn't hear it.
Approach him with a top secret assignment to follow the Nung River into the remote jungle, find rogue Special Forces Colonel Walter E. Kurtz, Marlon Brando, and terminate his command with extreme prejudice. Kurtz apparently went insane and now commands his own Montagnard troops inside neutral Cambodia. They play a recording of Kurtz's voice, captured by Army intelligence, where Kurtz rambles about the destruction of the war and a snail crawling on the edge of a straight razor. Willard is flown by helicopter to Cam Ranh Bay and joins a Navy PBR commanded by Chief Phillips and crewman Lance Chef and Mr. Clean. Lawrence Fishburne?
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Willard narrates that the crew are mostly young soldiers. Clean is only 17 years old and from the South Bronx. Lance is a famous surfer from California, and Chef is a chef from New Orleans. The chief is an experienced sailor who mentions that he previously brought another special operations soldier into the jungles of Vietnam on a similar mission and heard that the man committed suicide. As they travel down the coast to the mouth of the Nung River, Willard's voiceover reveals that hearing Kurtz's voice triggered a fascination with Kurtz himself. Okay, so Willard is kind of into Kurtz. They rendezvous with reckless Lieutenant Colonel Bill Kilgore, Robert Duvall, a commander of an attack helicopter squadron, the infamous 1st of the 9th Air Cavalry, who initially scoffs at them. Kilgore befriends Lance, both being keen surfers, and agrees to escort them through the Viet Cong-filled coastal mouth of the Nung River due to the surfing conditions there. The next morning, Kilgore launches a brutal helicopter assault on the Viet Cong village amid air and napalm strikes on the locals, and Ride of the Valkyries playing over the helicopter loudspeakers. Oh my god!
Yeah.
The beach is taken and Kilgore orders others to surf it amid enemy artillery fire. While Kilgore nostalgically regales about a previous strike, Willard gathered his men to the PBR, transported via helicopter, and begins a journey upriver. What a creep. During the long journey that occupies the bulk of the story, Willard sifts further through the Kurtz dossier, learning that he was a model officer. I thought it said he was a model.
He was a model.
He was a model.
Gucci.
Ooh, strike a pose. He was a model officer and possible future general. Back in 1964, after returning from a tour of duty in South Vietnam, the 38-year-old Kurtz had eschewed the promotion, applying several times for airborne training, and had sent a report to superiors about the war that was deemed classified. In other voiceover narration by Willard, Kurtz returned to South Vietnam in 1966 as a member of the Special Forces for another combat tour, which his fighting methods won victories against the enemy Viet Cong and North Vietnamese, but also drew criticism from his superior officers. By the late summer of 1968, Kurtz's combat patrols were coming under frequent ambush, which ended in November of 1968. After Kurtz ordered his men to summarily execute 4 high-ranking South Vietnamese intelligence officials who he suspected were double agents for the Viet Cong. Despite the fact that the 4 executed Vietnamese were indeed revealed double agents, the U.S. Army charged Kurtz with murder for taking matters into his own hands instead of going through proper channels, which resulted in Kurtz and his Special Forces South Vietnamese Army fleeing into Cambodia. I love the roll of the eyes. It's like, really? Red tape?
That's why they fired him. Not because he killed them, but because he didn't go to the bureaucracy.
He didn't get permission first.
Yeah.
You were gonna do it, but, like, let us tell you to do it first.
Do it through the proper channels.
It's so annoying.
The file of command. Chain of command.
One evening, Willard accompanies Chef into the jungle to pick mangoes when they encounter a tiger. Okay. But they both make it back to the boat safely and continue on. Willard sees the tiger encounter and Chef's near hysterical panic as a stern reminder of the rule to never leave the boat. Another evening or two later, the crew visit a Supply Depot USO show featuring Playboy Playmates, which goes awry when the servicemen attempt to assault the Playmates, which the R&R to a quick end. I don't know what that means.
The R&R is like rest and recreation or whatever. It's like it's like a rest period.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Jeez. Sometime later, the crew inspect a civilian sampan for weapons. But the strung-out Mr. Clean panics and opens fire, prompting Lance to open fire on the innocent Vietnamese family as well. Ugh. Amid the supplies on the boat, Chef finds a puppy. Good news and bad news. Lance harshly takes it from Chef and keeps it as a pet. When Chef finds one young woman alive, Willard coldly shoots her to prevent any further delay of his mission. Oh my god. Tensions arise between Chef and Willard from this moment on, as Willard believes himself to be in command of the PBR, while Chief prioritizes other objectives over Willard's secret mission. Okay. Another night later, the crew reaches the chaos of the Dolong Bridge under attack. Willard learns from a courier that the missing commanding officer, Captain Colby, was sent on an earlier mission to kill Kurtz. Willard also sees the lost boat, also sees the lost side of the war, burned out stone soldiers fighting a battle they are losing to keep the bridge open. As the PBR crew leave, the bridge is once again destroyed by enemy shell fire. Okay. Lance and Chef are continually under the influence of drugs. Okay. Lance, in particular, smears his face with camouflage paint and becomes withdrawn. The next day, the boat is fired upon by an unseen enemy in the trees, killing Mr. Clean
No!
and making Chief even more hostile toward Willard. Another day or two later, the PBR is ambushed again, this time by Montagnard warriors as they cross the border into Cambodia. They return fire despite Willard's objections that the arrows fired on them aren't lethal. Chief is impaled with a spear and tries to kill Willard by trying to pull him onto the spearhead before dying. You know what? Respect. I kind of gotta respect that. Like, I'm dead, but I'm taking you with me. Give me a hug. Okay. Afterward, Willard confides in the two surviving crew members, Chuff and Lance, about the mission, and they reluctantly agree to continue upriver, where they find the banks littered with mutilated bodies. Oh my god. Arriving at Kurtz's outpost at last, Willard takes Lance with him to the village, leaving Chef behind with orders to call an airstrike on the village if they do not return. Ugh. Okay. This is all, like, unnecessary violence.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
In the camp, the soldiers are met by an American freelance photographer who manically praises Kurt's genius. As they proceed, Willard and Lance see corpses and severed heads scattered about the temple that serves as Kurt's living quarters, and encounter Colby, who seems catatonic. Colby was a guy that was sent before, right? Okay.
They thought he killed himself.
Yeah. Willard is bound and brought before Kurtz in the darkened temple, where Kurtz derides him as an quote-unquote errand boy. Meanwhile, Chef prepares to call in the airstrike, but is kidnapped. Later imprisoned, Willard screams helplessly as Kurtz drops Chef's severed head into his lamp.
Oh! Wait, I thought
Seriously?
Chef was speared, or did...
That's Chief.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I might have said Chef instead of Chief a couple of times.
I didn't realize there were two different...
Yeah, it's not good naming.
Yeah.
Because Chef and Chief, but yes. Yeah, Chief was the one who was having tension with Willard and was speared and then tried to take him with him.
Yeah.
And then Chef was just a precious little baby boy.
Yeah.
Who didn't deserve to get his head cut off. I don't even know who plays him, but... After some time, Willard is released and given the freedom of the compound. Okay. In another monologue sequence, the shadowy Kurtz lectures him on his theories of war, humanity, and civilization while praising the ruthlessness and dedication of the Viet Cong. Kurtz had reached his breaking point some years before when he'd led a mission to inoculate the children of a small village for polio. Soon after completing that mission, Kurtz's unit was called back by one of the villagers where he found that the Viet Cong had come and hacked off every child's arm that had been injected with the vaccine. Ugh.
Oh my god.
Kurtz morbidly admires the vicious dedication of the Viet Cong and the will they had to foil the efforts of his unit to help the villagers. Kurtz believed that if he had a large legion of men who would go to such extremes, that he could end the war itself. Violence? Oh my god. Near the end of their time together, Kurtz discusses his son and asks that Willard tell his son everything about him in the event of his death. I want you to tell my son what an asshole I am. That night, as the villagers ceremonially slaughter a water buffalo, Willard enters Kurt's chamber as Kurt is making a tape recording and attacks him with a machete. Lying mortally wounded on the ground, Kurtz whispers his final words, the horror, before dying. Willard discovers substantial typed work of Kurtz's writing, scrawled with drop the bomb, exterminate all, and takes it with him before exiting. Willard descends the stairs from Kurt's chamber and drops his weapon. The villagers do likewise and allow Willard to take their near catatonic Lance by the hand and lead him to the boat. The two of them ride away in the PBR downstream to find help and safety as the army tries to reach them on the shortwave radio. Willard turns off the radio. As Willard drives the boat away into the dark of the night, jungle, and in the pouring rain, the last words of Kurtz is the horror, echo in his mind.
So wait, Kurtz wanted them to bomb everyone? Was that what he was writing?
I think so. It says drop the bomb, exterminate them all, so probably, yeah, he
like
wanted...
the atom bomb?
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Ugh. I don't think I like it.
There are no heroes in this film. There are no heroes.
Yeah. I don't mind so much that there are no heroes, because I think war is kind of like that.
Yeah.
I imagine that this movie accomplished the similar thing that Watchmen accomplished for comic books, but for war movies, where they are really trying to not glorify it or clean up war like previous films, right? Um, so they're trying to show it as gritty and as dark and as violent and as terrible as it is, which on some level I can appreciate. It feels like a counter statement. Um, but on the other hand, it is still very look at these poor white guys and what they have to do in this non-white country while they're killing non-white people just so ruthlessly and carelessly, and like the deaths, the casual deaths of like the Vietnamese or the Cambodians is like used for either shock value, or it's so casual that that's what's shocking about it, and it's so indiscriminate. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Which just, it doesn't feel good. It's like when someone's, the action hero's wife gets fridged, and it's like it's strictly for shock value. And unfortunately, we see this a lot in other war movies where like the non-white civilians are just so casually, cruelly killed. And I feel like it doesn't matter so much if it's glorified or not glorified, or if the hero feels bad about it or doesn't feel bad about it. It's like you are still depicting a film where a white person is killing non-white people,
Mm-hmm.
and the white person is the one we're supposed to empathize with. And it doesn't feel great watching movie after movie of that, or having the majority of the movies like that. And I get it, it's Hollywood, so it's going to like prioritize the American experience, but like it doesn't have to. But I don't know. I also try to look at this as a film of its time, when it was made, etc. But yeah, it.
Mm.
I don't think I like it.
Apparently, it's an adaptation of Heart of Darkness.
Oh.
Does that make it makes a little more sense?
Yeah.
Especially because they're like on that river the entire time as well.
Yeah. Heart of Darkness is also pretty terrible, but that is more of
Yeah.
a critique of Belgium and Africa.
Yeah, I remember reading it in high school, but I don't remember much about it.
I read King Leopold's War, but I didn't read Heart of Darkness. But King Leopold's War was like, this is what Heart of Darkness was based on.
I listened to a podcast about Belgium, and Congo, and all the. I was like, this is crazy.
Oh my god, it's horrible.
It's awful.
It's disgusting what they did there.
It
like
really
the
is.
chopping off the limbs,
Yeah.
and it's just horrible.
Yeah, it was really awful.
Yeah.
Like, all these imperial countries were awful. But we're actually we're starting a new unit in my class, my world studies class, and it's Africa, the African continent. So I don't know if we're gonna get into that, but I mean we might. I think we're gonna talk about imperialism. I need to check what the lesson plan is, but I do want to be like, did you know this awful thing was happening? And also, did you know rubber came from trees? Because I didn't know that until I listened to this podcast, and then I learned about the awful things they were doing to people.
Yeah.
But yes.
Well, you're teaching high school, right? I learned about this in high school, so I think it's appropriate.
Yeah. No. Yeah. For sure.
So, like, a high school in North Carolina, so like, it's appropriate. Okay, that makes a little more sense for the story and the brutality of it. Because again, I feel like I'm missing some context here. Because right now it just doesn't feel good. That makes some sense. But
yeah, I think the problem is that not a lot of people are like aware of like Heart of Darkness, or like what it's, supposed to be, like an allegory or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at the controversies. So a water buffalo was actually slaughtered. Because even though it was an American production, they filmed that in the Philippines. So it didn't need to be monitored. So the AHA said it was unacceptable. So that's like a real animal being killed.
Ew.
And then they also said real human corpses were brought from a man who turned out to be a grave robber. The
Oh my
police
god.
questioned the film crew, holding their passports, and soldiers took the bodies away, so extras were used to pose as corpses in the film. And then there's like drama between Hopper and Marlon Brando.
Yeah, I knew about that. So, Corinne, bad news, did not win Best Film Editing, but they were nominated.
They won cinematography. I saw it.
Yeah, Best Sound.
Yeah. Commentators have debated whether Apocalypse Now is an anti-war film or a pro-war film. This is kind of where my brain was going towards. Is like, what is this movie trying to say, and how well are they saying it? Some evidence of the film's anti-war message includes the purposeless brutality of the war, the absence of military leadership, and the imagery of machinery destroying nature. Advocates of a pro-war stance view these same elements as glorification of war and the assertion of American supremacy. Yeah. I think it is meant to be ambiguous, but then it's not really making a statement either way, which is a statement in and of itself, in my opinion. According to Coppola, the film may be considered anti-war, but is even more anti-lie. The fact that a culture can lie about what's really going on in warfare, that people are being brutalized, tortured, maimed, and killed, and somehow present this as moral, is what horrifies me and perpetuates the possibility of war. But he also hesitated to call the film anti-war, stating, an anti-war film, I always thought, should be like the Burmese harp, something filled with love and peace and tranquility and happiness. It shouldn't have sequences of violence that inspire a lust for violence. Apocalypse Now has stirring scenes of helicopters attacking innocent people. That's not anti. I feel like it could kind of go either way. Like, I think an anti-war film is
I think
one.
I think it depends. I think this movie specifically depends on already your take on the military.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think if you're, like, pro-military and you see this movie, you're like, yeah, get them. And I think if you're already, like, anti-military or whatever, anti-war, you're going in and you're like, oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when I think of, like, an anti-war film, it doesn't need to be all, like, love or whatever. Like, Grave of the Fireflies is a staunchly anti-war film, right? And and a lot of Hayao Miyazaki's films in general, or Studio Ghibli films in general, are very staunchly anti-war because the characters are actively trying to prevent a war from happening or literally stop the war through, like, radical action at the sacrifice of their own self, right? Like Nausicaa or Mononoke or things like that. And or like Barefoot Gen, where it's like his perspective as a child after like the atom bomb. Like that stuff I think is very anti-war because it's like we're not focusing on the soldiers, we're focusing on the victims and how they're forced to deal with the effects of war, even if they are from like the enemy side. It's like these are just civilians. And some of them might be super pro-imperialism, but some of them are just like trying to get by. Like they don't necessarily agree with what the government says. There's another film I watched a while ago that I would argue is also anti-war, where it was like a Russian female soldier met up with a Chinese prisoner of war and a Japanese schoolgirl during World War II, and they're like lost in Japan or something for some reason, and so they're like traveling together and they like kind of overcome cultural differences and whatnot. That's a pretty sad movie. But films like those I would call anti-war because it doesn't focus on the war and the fighting itself. But I feel like if you have an anti-war movie but it's focusing on the fighting, I think it's really hard not to glorify it because the current culture today already glorifies war. Like the recruitment, the go army, go navy, the few, the proud, the Marines, you know, like the advertisements they get, the pro-war.
I got a text from like a Marine recruiter, like literally this week, and I was like, what the literal fuck? Like, how did you get my... Who is trying to recruit me?
Yeah.
I am the worst person for military, A, because I have no respect. No respect.
No.
And B, no.
No.
I hate being told what to do.
Did I tell you when we were working at Charlie's that, so they had that military, they had that
Yeah,
ROTC
the recruiter
recruitment
right by
thing,
the garage.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
for the Navy or whatever. So that one
Yeah, it was the
guy would
Navy.
come every now and then to get a Philly cheesesteak. And I think I was working at the cash register, and he recognized me at this point. I don't know if you were there that day or if you were in the back or something, but he was talking to me, and he was like, I think he saw that I had USA or recognized his credit card. I was like, oh, my dad served, etc. And he was like, have you ever thought about joining? And I was like, oh no. He was like, oh, why not? And I was like, I don't want to get into the physical fitness stuff. I'm not physically fit enough for it. He was like, oh, you can change that. He was like, he kind of literally did a what's up. He was like, oh, you can hit the gym and change that. That can be
I cannot
fixed.
change that.
And then I was like, well, I just he was being really pushy. And then I was like, well, it's just I really don't want to go. I don't want to go into the military as a career. He's like, what are you trying to get into? And I was like, animation. And he was like, how's that working out for you? And I was like, oh my god.
Wow.
Rude.
I would have been like, I just don't respect you, sir. I don't respect you or your job or what you do or what you stand for.
Truly. It was just such the whole how's that working out for you? And I'm like, wow. The read of I want to get into animation but I'm working fast food. Bruh. And the thing is, those recruiters will say anything they need to say to you. They're lying. They're lying through their teeth, trying to get you to sign the paperwork. As soon as you sign it, you've signed your life away. And it is so hard to get out of the military. They'll be like, oh, it's just 5 years. That's it. But then, if you move, they add on a couple extra years on top of that. But they move you, every 2 years. So, and then they try to lead you on with the benefits and stuff, and then you get complacent. And literally basic training is they break you and then build you back up. So a lot of how the military works is similar to how cults work. And you have people literally being like, oh, I'm really critical of the military, but it pays the bills. But then you have other people that have fully drunk the Kool-Aid. And they call them that. They say, oh yeah, that guy has drunk the Kool-Aid. That guy is super hua, this and this and that and that. And it's they're using things that people would use to describe people who are in a cult, to describe other people. And basic training they all hate, because again, it's they just are screaming at you and pushing you past your physical and mental breaking point, because they're trying to mold you into the perfect soldier, which is not someone with an individual thought, but someone who will take orders. And that's just for enlisted. And if you're an officer, they like to say they want people with brand new fresh ideas, but they don't really, because they just want you to just take orders from your higher commanding officer, and the bureaucracy is ridiculous. Oh my god, it's a whole rant. I hate it. There's so much I hate, but the number one thing I hate is that they take such young, promising people, often men, who are so talented and creative or whatever, not all of them, but a lot of them, and promise them all these things, and then they send them off to combat or wherever, and then the men come back with PTSD, and there's just no support. And it's you're signing your life away to a government that is just using you for your body. It's so, I hate it. I don't like it at all. I get so sad, and the veteran affairs is just bullshit, and there's nothing to help prepare them. Even if you've been in it for 30 plus years and you're retired and you're getting out, the alleged veteran stuff is still not great. It's just so bad. And then when they're making cuts to the military budget, the first thing they cut is family support, healthcare, veteran support, everything that's not guns and stupid bureaucratic stuff. They cut the benefits, which is the only positive of the military. So, and it's the positive because you're signing your life away. So the benefits need to be good. But yeah, all that to say, it is, I think, difficult to make any sort of anti-war or military critical film. My dad has told me he's seen a few where he's like, they're not glorifying it because they're showing a really nitty-gritty thing. There was one recently about tanks in World War One, I think. It was tanks in World War One or World War Two. Maybe it was World War Two. It was a few years ago. I don't remember. He was like, oh, that was a pretty good one. But I'm like, it's if they're promoting the things of like brotherhood or like the bond between soldiers or things like that, I'm like, it is still kind of glorifying being a soldier. Like it's still a little bit there.
It's like, this sucks, but I have my buddy. Like,
yeah,
okay.
and like they intentionally push that bond on you to make it so strong, because that way if your buddy dies, then you are fueled by revenge to like keep fighting and not want to like insta quit. So it's and they're putting you through so much hell that all you have is your buddy is to like bond with. And it's just, which makes it so upsetting and unfair when they put, I don't know, it's just so much. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And then you don't even get to see like the families and how like they're affected by like deployment or things like that. It's just like the dutiful wife, or like the in military racism that like the soldiers and the families experience. Like there's so much. There's so much I could get into.
We don't have time for that because this is a podcast about
I know we
movies.
don't, but I could really go on and on and on. If my dad can like talk for hours about why he likes the military or just cool things about the military or military history, I can probably go on equally for everything I don't like about it. But I won't. But yes, Apocalypse Now. I don't think I'm ever gonna watch it. I think. What do you think? I've been talking a lot about what I think. What do you think?
I think I'm tired. Not of you talking. I'm just tired in general. I didn't want you to think I was being mean or rude. I mean, yeah, I don't think I'd ever watch this movie. I wasn't curious about this movie. I'm still like, whatever. I really don't like war. I definitely think I'd fall asleep. I 100% think I'd fall asleep during this movie. 100%. I'd see Harrison Ford and I'd get really excited, and then I realize he's not in the rest of the movie, and then I'd be like, fuck this, and like, go to sleep. Just knock out. And then wake up and be like, is that Marlon Brando? Well, how did he get here? Yeah, so I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
But no, I 100% agree with you. Like, I don't know, the military is stupid and messed up, and
yeah. I think if I look at the movie as Heart of Darkness, but set in Vietnam, because there's a lot of parallels, then I can kind of get behind the idea of the film a little better. But that doesn't take away from the reality that we are seeing a lot of violence perpetuated by white people.
Without that context, like, it becomes a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Right?
And even with that context, it still doesn't take away from the fact where it's like we're seeing a lot of Southeast Asians getting murdered.
Oh, no, yeah. No, 100%, yeah. But I think it's, like, if you know, like, the Heart of Darkness, like, okay, like, I understand what this is, like, what this means. Like, I understand, like, the metaphor, the allegory, whatever. Like, as opposed to, where you're like, yeah, get them. And you're like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Why are they playing this song over a helicopter speakerphone?
Yeah.
Like, that's super legit messed up.
Yeah, I thought that was just like non-diegetic music.
That's what I thought so too until it said it, and I was like, are you serious?
Hearing that a character chose to put that on kind of makes it a little better, because that tells a lot about the character.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because that song is often associated with like Nazis. So.
Is it really?
Yes, because Wagner was like when the Nazis were taking over Germany and everything, there were certain composers that they didn't want to promote and certain composers that they did. Mendelssohn got the chop because he was Jewish, but Wagner they really liked. So that music kind of gets associated with, because it's like Rite of the Valkyries is about like the ring cycle, and it's like German folklore sort of thing. It's very romanticizing Germany, so it was kind of appropriated for nationalistic purposes. I don't know if Richard Wagner himself was like an asshat. He might have been.
AKA a Nazi.
Yeah, I don't think he was. He died too soon before that. But yeah, that music I know has associations with with it, which is not great. But I also don't think that necessarily is the music's fault. It's the Nazis being stupid.
It's it's the Nazis' fault.
Yeah. But
we can blame a lot on the Nazis.
Yeah. Oh yeah, racism and anti-Semitism. So he was anti-Semitic. He didn't like Jewish people.
Oh my God! God!
He was pretty awful. Nazi appropriation. Hitler was an admirer of Wagner's music. So there it is.
My mentor teacher was like, I really want to do like a unit like around Gandhi in India. She's like, but I heard that Gandhi wasn't that great. And I was like, she was like, I think we should say this one thing. And I Googled it and I was like, I have a million things to tell you right now. And she was like, every time I told her, she'd be like, oh no, oh no, oh no, no, Gandhi, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's like, well, I can't do that. No, we cannot. We need to find something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, it is. It's certainly a choice.
Certainly a choice.
And it is confirmed what I just said. I think I like what this one person said. Viet Thanh Nguyen, who is a Vietnamese American author. He said, Apocalypse Now is an important work of art, but that doesn't mean I'm going to bow down before it. I think that's a good way of describing it. I think for the right person, this can be a very important, life-changing film and deliver the message that maybe Francis Ford Coppola really wanted to give. And some people might really benefit from watching it, but I don't think it's a film for everyone. And I don't mean that in that some people can't handle it. I mean that in I don't think this film is necessary for everybody to watch. It's not one of those movies, and it's just not for certain people. I think it's for white men who would benefit from having an opinion of war changed to see the reality and grittiness of it, you know, like an entry point maybe. Or someone who has been in war to be like, yeah, that can be what it's like and it's pretty awful sort of thing. But yeah, that's what I think. I would give this movie a 3 out of 5 because of cultural significance. That's about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 because I didn't care and I still don't care.
Good for you.
Stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we keep talking about water buffalo, I just keep thinking of that VeggieTales song. Everybody has a water buffalo. Mine is fast and yours is slow.
Nice.
Anyway.
All right. So, can people find us online?
You can. You can find me on Instagram, I think, at Magic Monzer.
You can find me. I'm still on Twitter and on Instagram at Corinne is Korean, 1 R and 2 N's.
You can also find my cat's Instagram, Gatito George.
Oh, yes, please follow it.
Gatito George. He's adorable. He's so photogenic.
Yeah.
He was very active in today's podcast recording.
He was, and you can see how worried he looks constantly.
Oh, and
he always looks concerned. Yeah.
He always looks concerned, yeah.
Always looks concerned.
He's always like...
He always looks like he's going, I'm just a little guy.
I think literally that's the only thing in his brain.
I'm just a little guy.
Do you see him? Look.
He's making that face right now.
He's like,
I'm just an eepy little guy.
He turned to look at me like, Mom, why are you looking at me? I'm just a little guy. Mom, I'm just a little guy. I love him.
Yes, we all love him.
Mi alma.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for listening. If you've got opinions, feel free to share, but we might not agree with you. Or approve the comment, depending on how you write it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Cool. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Later.
Bye-bye.